Hello and welcome to the Music Polyglot channel. Today we're going to have a look at my personal favorite song from Radiohead's OK Computer, Let Down. Now, I am going to depart from what we usually do in this channel, which is showing you exactly how to play things so that you sound like the record. We're not going to do that for Let Down. I'm going to show you what to play if you want to play and sing this song on your own. So the first disclaimer is that we're not going to be playing Tom York's guitar part. We're going to be playing something that encompasses and that includes a little bit more of what's going on in the overall song. Okay, so a few things are going to be slightly different to everything else that you see around here. And the second thing is that all this is bearing in mind that, you want to sing and play this at the same time. So hopefully what I'll show you will make all of that possible and a little bit more straightforward than trying to do anything else. Let's see how that goes in a close-up. Let's begin by having a look at the chords and strumming patterns in the verses. So after the little intro line, we go straight into an A sus2, and I'll show you what the strumming pattern is here, and it's the same one that you will replicate throughout the song actually, so make sure that you spend proper time getting this right. So here's how this goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I'll slow it right down so you can see what's going on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the strumming pattern, the rhythm itself is all eighth notes, all quavers. That is, your hand is going like this. So if you have your 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, your hand, of course, always goes down on the beat. That's rule number 1 of guitar strumming. Your hand goes down on the beat. Okay, that's rule number 1. So your hand's going down and you're strumming all those downstrokes, and you are also strumming the upstrokes, which you would count as ands. So in a 2-bar sequence, you would have this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So it's as simple as thinking you're strumming down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and your downs are the beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. This really is the strumming pattern. What makes it sound like Let Down is that some of those strums are accented. So we have 2 bars. On the first bar, you will accent 2 and 4. That means that on beat 2, which is a downstroke because it's a beat, you will strum stronger, and so will you do on 4. Okay, so like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Now, how do you achieve that? On guitar, a good way of thinking about accents is actually thinking the other way around, that you should de-accent everything that's not accented, which is to say that you should play less, both in intensity and actually in the number of strings when you're not accenting, and save all the strings in the chord for the accents only. Right, so for example, on the first 1 and 2, that 2 is accented, and your 1 and should sound like, right? So I'm really only strumming the bottom, 3 strings of the chord. And it's only on 2 when I make sure that I strum all the 5 strings that I need in the chord, and make sure that I do that a little bit louder than it was before. So again, the whole bar. Right, so that takes a little bit of practice to get right. What you essentially want to create is this two-level sound between the underlying rhythm and this chord that seems to come to the fore on the 2 and the 4, and then it lingers, right? Because those high strings, they keep on ringing out as you play in the rhythm in the background again. There's a second bar to this pattern, and that second bar is slightly different in accents. It's still going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. But now it goes. Okay, so you still have the first accent on 2, but then the accent on 4 disappears and it's replaced by 2 accents on the ands. As you've seen, they come on the upstroke. So 1 and 2 and 3 and. So that second bar again, 1 and 2 and 3 and. And now you put those 2 bars together, and that's your strumming pattern. It's a 2-bar pattern that will then go like this. 1 and 2, 2 and. Excellent. Now that you have the pattern, and if you don't have it, I suggest you pause the video, go back, make sure you get it, make sure you get the pattern right. Because now we're just going to take that pattern through the chord sequence, which is A sus 2 on the actual track. And if you see Tom York playing the song, he's playing an A major chord. He actually plays it up here, right? He's just playing an A major chord. Now we are going to play a sus2 chord, and I'll show you why in a second, okay? And on this song, there's like a lot of different elements going on. There's 2 guitars, there's some synths that play, some arpeggio on top, there's sometimes a keyboard that plays something else. So overall, the harmony is not just what the guitar plays, it's your perception of everything that is going on. So what we're going to try and do is to grab all those basic colors of the whole thing, not just Tom York's guitar, but everything that's going on, and try to convey as much color as possible. That's why this first chord is going to be played as an A sus 2. The second chord is easy E major. This third chord is a type of F sharp minor. If you see Tom York playing this, he plays it straight F sharp minor. We're not going to play it a straight F sharp minor for the reasons that I just explained. We're going to play something very, very close and actually easier to play. So instead of barring, right, on the second fret to play that F sharp minor, you leave these 2 fingers where they are, don't move them at all. It's just the index that instead of barring will come to play the second fret only on the G string. That's the 3rd string. It will be playing that A note, okay? Now, you've lost the bass note here on the 6th, so you're not going to be playing that low 6th string anymore, just the top 5, meaning the 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd and 1st. And notice how those 2nd and 1st strings are open now. Okay, so that's chord number 3. Same pattern as before. And chord number 4 is E major again. Tears of feelings, disappointed people, clinging on to bottles, and when it comes, it's so disappointed. Alright, so that would be the verses. Now, if you've noticed one pattern here, one of the reasons why we want to play the A as an A sus2 and the F sharp minor like that is because then we get those the first and second strings open throughout the chord sequence, and that kind of gives us that pad underneath those two strings that can keep on ringing out as we play the rhythm and change the chords on the lower strings. Beautiful. All right, now that you have that strumming pattern and the chords for the verse, let's have a look at the chorus, which is slightly different. Let me play you the chorus so that you can see what's going on, and I will break it down. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's a lot going on, right? Let's have a look at the chords first. New chord, D, sorry. We are going to play this as a D sus2 though, because we kind of want to keep that sonority of that open E at the top. Chord number 1. Chord number 2 is going to be an E major, but we're going to kind of toggle between an E major and an E6. So an E6 you'll achieve by having your pinky down on the 2nd fret of the B string. Okay, so that would be E6. Then we'll take the pinky off to go back to the E major. Then we play a type of A major. Okay, so we have our middle finger on the 6th fret of the G string and our ring finger on the 7th fret of the D string. It's almost like, we deriving that from that A major chord, that E shape, but we're just playing the 3rd and 4th strings fretted. Now, I suggest that you play it with fingers 2 and 3 like that instead of fingers 1 and 2. I'll show you why in a second. And one important note here is that you do want to catch the open A because that's the bass note. Okay, so that's an A. It's actually an A add 9 chord. Beautiful. And chord number 4 is going to be a type of F sharp minor again. So here you are going to take the same shape down to the 2nd fret, and you're going to substitute the middle finger with the index. So take the middle finger off from, it would be on the 3rd fret, and your index goes onto that same G string but on the 2nd fret. That makes it that minor 3rd, right? And you keep the high E and the high B, so 1st and 2nd strings, open. Now though, you want to avoid the open A, because that's no longer the bass note that we need. We want that F sharp as the bass, so that we're playing that F sharp minor type of chord. Okay, so from there to there. And you see why I suggest you play this A with the ring finger, so that then you can keep an eye on that ring finger and you can count that it goes down. You can kind of keep an eye on it, make sure that it goes down to the 4th fret here, or you can count the 3 frets, that's what I meant earlier, to make sure that it goes to the right place, right? It's easier to move around if you have one finger that you can use as an anchor. Great. And now you've noticed that I've done that. On the original, well, several things are happening on this chord. This is a very kind of complex sound for this chord. I think Tom is actually playing a D sus2 with a bass and the F sharp type of chord, right? And if you look at some tutorials or tabs and things, people will tell you to play that kind of thing. Now everything else is actually suggesting an F sharp minor. And if you compare the two and you play this chorus with the D sus2 and the F sharp minor, you will notice yourself that the F sharp minor sounds more like, yeah, this is the overarching sound. This is the color that we want in this chord. And there's another, what instrument is that? I forget. I think is there another guitar that goes that high line, right? That line there, that we actually have under the fingers right there. So we're going to use our pinky to go You'll see that in terms of the direction, this is going to be down, up, down. We'll talk about the rhythm in a second, but that's going to be the ornaments that we're going to introduce there. All right, let's talk about the rhythm. We are going to think about this rhythm in the following way. Think that you're strumming and the chords that you're going to be playing follow the melody. This is, after all, I'm putting this version together so you can play and sing at the same time. So this should be, hopefully, a straightforward thing to think about. Think that what you're going to be playing follows the melody. And if you pay attention, you can actually hear the melody embedded in the chords that you're playing. You hear it? So it's right there as part of what you're already playing. So that should sort out the rhythm. Things to bear in mind. Notice when we're changing, especially to that E major, we change on an upstroke. 1, 2, and. And now let's have a look at the details there. So, let, down, and, right? So when you change to the E, you go straight to an E6. So that's including the pinky on the second fret of the B string. Let, down, and then you move on to the A. Down, up, down. Lastly, go to the E and you play this. Alright, so on the E, first you play the whole chord and then you play. What's that? Well, that's open B. Then your pinky goes down on the second fret of the G string to play an A. Then you take it off and play the G sharp, so first fret on that same string. Your index is already there, okay, so you don't have anything to do apart from taking off the pinky. And then you play fourth string, fifth. That's the line. Right. Second string, third with the pinky, third with the pinky off, fourth, fifth. Make sure that you follow a perfect alternation on the right hand. Down, up, down, up, down. And then an open A. At which point you'll go back to that, which we haven't looked at yet. We'll look at that in a second. Beautiful. That's the verse. No. So that's the chorus. Now let's have a look at this little line in the intro. Okay, so disclaimer, this is difficult and it's probably the hardest bit in the whole song. It goes like this. Okay. So there's a lot to say about this. The first thing is that there isn't really one way of thinking about this. There's several ways. There's no straightforward way of addressing this. Two is that if you have a look at kind of live versions of this song, they kind of get that entry onto the A major chord. I dare say randomly. It's like they do it on cue. It's not specific. But obviously on the record there is one way, right, in which they do it. So we're going to base ourselves on what they're doing on the record. So that if you go ahead and play along to the track, then you'll be matching where those changes come in. So, first things first, let's get the notes happening. This is going to be a little bit of a stretch. Let me talk you through that. Pinky on the 6th fret of the G string. That's your 3rd string. It's playing that C sharp. Index on the D, that's the 3rd fret of the B string. Okay? 2 notes out of 3. And this is where it gets hairy. So, the 3rd note, ring finger, will go all the way up to an A, which is on the 5th fret of the high E. Okay, those are your 3 notes. So, okay, yeah, we're getting all excited now because you can definitely hear it. Here we are going to stick to perfect, strict alternation on the right hand. What does that mean? That you're going to be playing down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and never down, down, up, or down, up, and none of that. It's just a straight alternate picking, down, and then up, and then down, and then up. A good thing to keep in mind as well is that you're going to be playing every 8th note. So you're going to be playing every down pick and every up pick. Everything is played, there's no gaps. Remember that, no gaps. So when you start playing the phrase, it goes down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Ooh, remember that. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. What are the notes? G string to the B, and then again. Then the high E, then back to the G. Then B, G, B, open E again. Jesus, this is quite tricky, isn't it? Slowly one more time. G. Then G again. Alright, maybe one thing that could be useful to keep in mind is how after you play any note, be it the high A or the G sharp or the E, anyway, after you play the high E string, whatever note you're playing on that string, you always go back to the 3rd string right after. Okay, so it's almost like you always have this 3rd, 2nd twice. And then you go on and play the high E string. The first time it's an A, so. And then you have again that 3rd, 2nd, and then you play the high E again. But this time open. And then again, 3rd, 2nd, and now you play the 4th fret. Then again, 3rd, 2nd, and you play it open. So you're alternating between 5th, and I'm talking about the high E string, 5th, open, 4th, open, 5th, open, 4th, open, and you always have a 3rd, 2nd in the middle. 5th, open, 4th, open, 5th, open, 4th, open. Okay? So that's a good way, that's a good symmetric way of thinking about this, how you have this 3rd, 2nd every time in between your high notes. Right. Now, one thing that you might find confusing is that sometimes you start that 3rd, 2nd with a down, up, and some other times it's up, down, Yes, and that's the way it should be, that's normal, that's fine. The first time it'll be down, up, and the second time is going to be up, down, up. And then it's going to switch between going down, up, and up, down, okay? That's normal. It's because the phrase is not symmetrical. We're trying to kind of think of it in a symmetrical way, but the phrase is a phrase in 5 So you know it's a little bit tricky. It travels over a 4/4 time. Anyway, it's all a bit Radioheadish. So, which is obviously what makes it very, very cool, but we're just trying to find a little strategy to think about this and to be able to play it. We need to work out when we go and switch to the A major, right? Okay, the best way to think about that, and we're still talking about the intro, is think that you need to hear that high A, so that's going to be your 5th fret on your high E string with the 3rd finger. You need to play that 3 times. And right after you play it 3 times, this happens. Let's actually go ahead and I'll show you what it means. So, that's 1. That's 2. Coming on to the 3rd and last. Check it out. So right after we play that high A for the 3rd time, we're gonna get there and make sure that you keep this in mind. You're gonna get to that 3rd time on that high A as a downstroke. That's gonna be a downstroke. And then immediately after you play a low open E string. That's gonna lead you into the downstroke on the A sus2 chord. And you start the strumming pattern straight away, no gaps. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. And if you want to throw in those little 2 notes on the and on that 2nd bar, that's just pinky on the 3rd fret and then on the 2nd. Right. So just that passage. Two more bars of A and you go into the verse. Transport, etc., etc. We come back to this phrase at the end of the 1st chorus, right? Now, unfortunately, the A major chord, or the A sus2, to go into the 2nd verse, follows a different pattern. And this is because now we're really sticking to 4 bars of 4/4. So you can think about that, or you can just think about how you need to be counting 4/4, even though the phrase is a phrase in 5. Okay, we're not going to get into that. But you can count 4 bars of 4. Or you can just get used to, by listening to the track, get used to where it hits that A to get into the 2nd verse. So how's it going so far? Remember that if you want tabs and sheet music, essentially everything that you see on screen, but on a PDF file that you can download and print, check out the Patreon link in the description below. The bridge. Again, we have this discrepancy between what we're going to do and what you actually hear on the track. And you see when Brian, who plays this on an electric guitar that has a capo on 7, I think it has, his guitar, and he plays this little line. We're actually going to play the melodic line, but obviously we're not going to go in and snatch a capo on the guitar halfway through the song, so we're going to play it open. And we're going to use our open A string as the main bass there, and we're going to play this. Okay, we're gonna play that. The first thing to notice is how my right hand is again doing perfect alternation, meaning down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up all the time. Now, I'm reverting to my bass note, the open A string, every time that I'm not playing a melody note on the 2nd and 3rd strings. This will make sense as we have a look at the actual melody. So we start with an open bass note. And then I have my index barring the top 4 strings, so 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings on the 9th fret. And after playing that initial open A, I play the 3rd string back to the open A, and then that 3rd string again, but with my ring finger down on the 11th fret. And I actually want to let those strings ring out as much as I can. Right? That's already a bit tricky because you have to skip the D string. Then you will leave that ring finger on the 11th fret of the G string and play the open to your barre. 2nd string on that 9th fret where the barre is. So, and then you'll add your middle finger on the 10th fret, so that's 1 fret up from the barre on that 2nd string. Okay, and you always have that bass note in between. So. Okay, up to that point, that's all nice and easy. You have, then you're gonna have another A, and then you take that middle finger off. Okay, then you play the bass note again. And here is where the pattern gets broken, because you go back to the middle finger, and you play that string twice. That's gonna be up, down, right? So that means that then when you next need to go play the open A, it's going to end up as an upstroke, which I know makes it a lot harder. And then you repeat that and down again. This time it's going to be down, up, which is better because then you land on that low A again as a down. Let me play it for you up to that point. All right. Woo, that's the first that's the first third of it. Then you go. So the beginning of that is similar. Up to the 2nd string. Then you'll have a double 2nd, which then leads you to the open A again, as you know. You repeat that. And then here is where something different happens. Instead of having another one on the 2nd, right? You go 2nd string first. And your 1st is going to be obviously open to your barring on that 9th. So. And then back to the 2nd. Okay, that was a very clean one. You can go back a few seconds, slow it down, make sure that you can replicate that. And then you have the 3rd phrase, which goes. Is exactly the same as the 2nd one that we just looked at, except that instead of just playing the open to the barre, the open 1st string, you add your pinky on the 12th fret of said E string, right, to play that note. But in terms of the rhythm and where that note happens, it's exactly the same as the 2nd. And now you have the last one, 4th and last. Right, that one's a little bit easier. It's again one of those asymmetric things that you have, but it's just all on the 2nd string. All the way up as usual, up to that G sharp on the B string, and then that double 2nd string, right? 10th, 9th, open A, 10th, 9th, open A, 10th, 9th, open A, 3 times. And then you are fine, you're back, you have that little bridge thing that is all on an A on the main pattern. Now, if you're playing and singing this on your own, I will definitely advise you to shorten it. Maybe play that figure twice before you build up. Before you build up onto the third verse. If you want to sing the let down again phrases that, you know, Tom York sings over that bridge, you can do that and just make it's all over in A major chord, so you do that, you know, wherever you feel like it. Let down again. That kind of thing, right? Etc, etc. You can do something like that. I introduced a little E major chord there just to lead me back into my build-up. That's not actually on the song, but if you go back a few seconds and you check out exactly where I introduced it, you can steal that. You do the same thing. It definitely works. It's nice. It leads you into that build-up onto the third and last verse. Again, this is not what they do, but this is something that definitely works if you're playing this on your own. Shall we have a look at the outro and leave it there? So we start off on an A sus4, so we're going to use the pinky really, pinky on the 3rd fret of the B string, and we go. Okay, so this is kind of single notes. We're playing the open A, then the 4th string, and then we play the remaining 2 notes, so 3rd and 2nd strings together. So then we play the A string twice, then the D string, and then both 2nd and 3rd. This is so far. Again, double. Okay, so that double A, D string, and the other 2 will happen twice in a row. So far you have. And then immediately on the upstroke, you go back from the sus4 to just the A major. So. Then back to the A, and now you play single notes, D string, 2nd string, 3rd. Okay, so that's the last bit. So and again. And that's played 4 times. And in the end you just strum a really nice open A major chord, and that's the end of Let Down. So there we have it. I hope that was fun and useful. If it was, don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe for more content in the future. Thank you for staying till the end. See you next time.